Hello everybody, welcome to Savaging Studios. I'm your host Ink, and today Sketchbook Storytime is about my Quizilla experience. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the Quizilla website. I know it was a big thing within my social group when I was much younger. I was probably about 10 when a girl from my camp introduced me to this website, and boy, oh boy, did I dive into it absolutely headfirst, completely and entirely. I think it was actually the first website that I actually made an account on and was active on a regular basis. It was full of a 10-year-old emo kid's dreams. It had Harry Potter fan fiction, which I was all about, personality quizzes, and emo kid poetry, of which not only did I love reading and participating in from other users, I also posted all of my own. And oh god, the Harry Potter fanfiction cringe, let me tell you guys. So bad. So bad. So embarrassing. I'm actually kind of glad that Quizilla as a website has been taken down so we can't delve into the past and see any of that absolute fucking cringe. It was bad. So, 10-year-old me, eyeballs deep in Harry Potter fanfiction and emo poetry and personality quizzes, and during this time, you were able to send messages to other people who posted, stuff. And during this time, as a kid, I already had, really bad issues with depression, and, so naturally, I gravitated towards the super depressing, really emo poetry type stuff. And one of the posters of this very emo poetry and I ended up messaging each other pretty regularly. Again, I was 10 at this point, and don't quote me on this here, but this girl that I was talking to all the time was between, I want to say she was 16, because in my head, she was almost a grown-up. She could have been a little bit younger than that, but I know that she was a teenager who was quite a few years older than me. So, I was 10, and open about my age. I didn't lie about it then. and this girl was about 16. And I would tell her about all the problems in my life and all of the little kid drama I was going through, and she talked to me like I was a mature adult and would have normal adult-like conversations with me, which I genuinely appreciated. And I definitely looked up to this girl who was just the epitome of this dark princess type emo whatever, and I was just awed and inspired by her perceived bravery with her situations and whatever. So as we talked more about my life and my issues and the things I was going through and how I felt so hopeless and didn't know how to cope, she introduced me to her coping skill, which at the time didn't, for some reasons, set off any red flags or anything to me. And she would tell me how she would self-harm and how and why it helped her. And as a young kid with no coping skills and no control in my life, I didn't think that I had anything to lose. And that was the point in time when I started self-harming, which ended up becoming a lifelong addiction that took years and years and years to break. So, and it's almost ironic too that a lot of the dark poetry and stuff on this website was written around ideas like that. So I think that it's kind of really ironic almost that Nickelodeon is the company that ended up taking over the domain name for Quizilla. I'm like, why would you people want to be associated with all of this? Because it wasn't just like dark poetry about self-harm. Harry Potter fanfictions had straight up porn in it. Like, actual sex scenes. And this, I don't know if this was just like the days before the internet had like proper filters or people looking to see if the stuff that was posted was appropriate, but there wasn't like an age limit, and porn did not get taken down, like literary porn. So I'm genuinely amazed that Nickelodeon wanted anything to do with that domain name, considering everything that was on that website. It definitely, being on that website, opened me to a whole new world of things that me at 10 probably should not have been opened up to. I mean, I was a messed up kid to begin with, so I was going to end up messed up in some way getting older anyway, and I, can try and take a moment to be appreciative that it was just self-harm that was encouraged to me on that site as a kid, instead of, like drugs or something else. So, yeah, so me and this girl formed a friendship, if you will, and I would tell her how my self-harm was helping me, and she would tell me how her self-harm was helping her, and I ended up, I'm pretty sure I covered this in another story, ended up being sent to a mental hospital for the first time when I was 11. And, I managed to find ways to get on the computer there and, messaged her about how they sent me away. And me and this girl ended up, like, talking for over a year. And I had been, taking her advice for over a year. When finally, because I was a lot more secretive about my issues back then than I am now. I think it's just human nature to want to hide the things that you think other people are going to judge you for, whereas at being a young teenager, but older than I was then, I decided that if I just told everybody everything, then the people who were going to judge me were going to judge me up front, and I liked it better that way. But at this point in my life, I was still pretty secretive about some of my issues, and when I started talking to this girl about the extent of my mental problems, it ended up being, like, too much for her to handle, and she's like, look, I'm sorry, and, like, I hope that you get the help that you need, but I don't think that we can talk anymore. Which, at that point, I had a lot going on in my life. I was newly addicted to self-harm. I had been kicked out of my mom's house for the first time in my life, where I wasn't allowed to see or talk to my siblings. I was trying to adjust to, like, just about starting to hit puberty and living with people who hated everything about me. And then losing this one person that I thought that I could talk to was just like the straw that broke the camel's back. It was absolutely devastating, and I just spiraled into this pit of despair and inability to deal with my issues. So, that pretty much covers my Quizilla experience, I guess. I'm all about freedom of speech, obviously, but at the same time, I'm glad that the internet has sort of caught up with the ability to monitor what younger kids are exposed to an extent at this point, because I would not wish for young kids who are going through really tough times to be so easily directed towards coping skills that are not the coping skills that they should be using. And as a kid, I didn't see anything wrong with what I was doing. And I knew that, like, it freaked out my parents at first, but by the time that I was 13, my stepmom was giving me, gauze and A&D ointment as gifts to make sure that what I was doing was the safest that it could be. So, the people in my life, the adults in my life, embraced what I was doing. And I kind of just grew up thinking that it was okay and that it was normal and that I would never regret it. And at this point in my life, looking back, back then I was certain that I was never going to be upset with the fact that I had a way to deal with my problems in my head. Obviously, as an adult looking back, I'm just like, I can't believe that my stepmom got on board with this, for one, and acted like it was totally normal. I can't believe that me and my little kid brain thought that this was like a good way to deal with my issues. And I didn't have any real positive coping skills at that point. And it just blows my mind that not only was this so easy for me to find as a young child, but that it was treated as something that was pretty much normal within my home. So it was something that didn't stop. I didn't quit until after I turned 18. And now it's not that I'm like embarrassed of what my body looks like now because of the years and years and years of abuse. It's just, I'm disappointed in that website. I'm disappointed in my stepmom. I'm disappointed in myself, even though I want to say I didn't really know any better. But yeah, if I could go back and try and find a better way, I think I would. And even as I got older, people who questioned, I would just tell them it's not like I'm trying to off myself doing this. There is a scientific explanation for why it works for me. When this happens to your skin, your body produces chemicals in your brain, adrenaline and endorphins and whatever. And it's a way that makes my brain feel better. And as long as I do it safe, it's not hurting anybody. But obviously, that was kind of the point. It was hurting me. And I wish that it hadn't been a part of my life. I wish that I had found a healthy way to deal with my problems. And more than anyone, I guess I'm kind of disappointed in this 16-year-old girl from God knows where who thought it was a good idea to tell a 10-year-old child who was struggling really, really badly with life and mental health issues that she should just hack herself up, and that's how she should deal with it. So, yeah, I recently just had a thought about Harry Potter fan fiction that I used to read, and went to go on the website to look up this fan fiction, and then found out that the domain name was taken over by Nickelodeon, and that everything on that website is gone. And part of me is a little relieved that hopefully any young struggling children will find better places with better people to help them with their issues. I hope you enjoyed my sketch today. I hope you enjoyed my story. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. If you have any suggestions, you know where to put them. And I will see you guys in the next one.